Let us start with the data that should shake every person watching. A 2009 Sports Illustrated investigation found that 78% of NFL players go bankrupt or face serious financial stress within 3 years of retirement. For NBA players, the number is 60% within 5 years. These are athletes who earned more in one season than most families earn in a lifetime. Mike Tyson earned over $400 million in his career and filed for bankruptcy in 2003 with $23 million in debt. Nicolas Cage made over $150 million from acting and lost it all on castles, dinosaur skulls, and a private island. 50 Cent reportedly earned over $150 million and still filed Chapter 11 in 2015. Now here is the part that should terrify you. These people did not lose their money to bad investments or stolen identity. They lost it because they confused a high income with wealth. They assumed that as long as the checks kept arriving, the lifestyle was sustainable. The technical term economists use is the hedonic treadmill, and it operates on every single person earning a paycheck. The moment your income rises, your reference point for what is normal rises with it. The leased car becomes the owned car, becomes the second car, becomes the upgrade. The apartment becomes the house, becomes the bigger house, becomes the vacation home. Each upgrade feels deserved. Each one is funded by the assumption that next year will look like this year, and then it does not. Income is fragile, wealth is durable. They are not the same thing, and the gap between them is where high earners quietly go broke. If this is landing, save this video. You will want to come back to this when you are ready to act. Because we are about to get to the mechanism that explains why your raise never seems to make you richer, and where it gets counterintuitive. In 1955, British historian C. Northcote Parkinson published a now-famous law about bureaucracy. But there is a financial version of Parkinson's law that explains almost every broke six-figure earner you have ever met. It states that expenses rise to match income, not gradually, not optionally, automatically. A study from the Federal Reserve found that for every dollar of additional income an American household earns, roughly 97 cents are spent within 12 months. 97 cents. That means a $30,000 raise does not make you richer. It makes you live a $30,000 bigger life. And here is what nobody tells you. This is not weakness. This is not stupidity. It is engineered. Every credit card pre-approval, every mortgage calculator, every car dealership financing tool is designed to consume your raise before you decide what to do with it. Your bank knows your salary increased before you do. Lifestyle inflation does not feel like inflation while it is happening. It feels like finally being able to afford the life you deserve. Look at the documented case of Johnny Depp. Court filings from his 2017 lawsuit revealed he was spending $2 million per month, $30,000 on wine, $300,000 on a 40-person staff, and over $75 million on 14 homes. He earned over $650 million during his career. He still had to sue his managers because the cash had simply disappeared into the lifestyle. The contrast is what makes this brutal. Thomas Stanley, who spent 20 years researching American millionaires for his book The Millionaire Next Door, found that the most common car driven by real millionaires was not a Mercedes or a Tesla. It was a Toyota. The median home price was under $320,000, and the median income was around $131,000, meaningful but not extraordinary. Warren Buffett, worth over $130 billion, still lives in the same Omaha house he bought in 1958 for $31,500. The pattern is the same in every wealth study ever conducted. Wealthy people break the link between income and lifestyle. Broke high earners welded them together and call it success. But that is only half the story. Because even if you break the lifestyle trap, there is a second trap waiting that catches almost everyone. This is where most people get this completely wrong. They assume that the path from high income to real wealth is just saving more. It is not. Saving is the entry ticket. The mechanism that actually builds wealth is something different, and it is called asset ownership. Here is the math that should change how you think about your next paycheck. According to Federal Reserve data, the top 10% of American households own roughly 67% of all wealth. But they only earn about 35% of all income. The bottom 50% of households earn around 13% of income, but own less than 3% of wealth. The wealthy do not just earn more, they own more. Specifically, they own appreciating assets, equities, businesses, real estate, intellectual property that generate income while they sleep. The high-earning professional who buys a $90,000 car has a depreciating object. The wealthy person who buys $90,000 in a low-cost index fund has a compounding machine. Over 30 years at the S&P 500 historical average return of around 10% annualized, that $90,000 becomes roughly $1.57 million without saving another dollar. The car becomes worth $5,000 and rust. This is the asset gap, and it is the actual wealth-building machine. Here is the practical step-by-step. First, calculate your savings rate, not what you intend to save, what you actually save as a percentage of gross income. Research by economist Wojciech Kopczuk found that people who consistently save above 20% of gross income are statistically the most likely to reach financial independence regardless of starting salary. Second, automate the transfer the day your paycheck lands, not at the end of the month, not when you have leftovers, the day it lands. This single behavior is what financial planners call paying yourself first, and it is the operational difference between high earners who build wealth and high earners who do not. Third, direct that money into ownership, broad market index funds like VTI or VOO, a 401(k) with employer match, real estate, or a business. The instrument matters less than the principle. You must own something that grows while you are not actively earning. Skip this step and your retirement will depend entirely on your ability to keep earning a paycheck, which is the definition of fragility. Drop in the comments. Have you ever calculated your real savings rate as a percentage of your gross income? Most people have never done the math once, and that is exactly why the trap works. In 2010, a Vermont man named Ronald Reed died at age 92. He had worked as a gas station attendant and a part-time janitor at JCPenney. He drove a second-hand car. He stapled together the seams of his frayed coat to make it last longer. When his estate was processed, his family discovered something that made national news. Ronald Reed had quietly accumulated over $8 million in assets. He left $4.8 million to the Brattleboro Memorial Hospital and $1.2 million to the local library. He had never earned more than a modest hourly wage in his life. How did he do it? He spent the better part of 7 decades buying shares of solid dividend-paying companies: Procter & Gamble, J.P. Morgan, Johnson & Johnson, General Electric, and never selling. He reinvested every dividend. He let compounding do what compounding does. Meanwhile, in the same era, thousands of doctors, lawyers, and executives earning 10 times what he ever made retired with less than $200,000 to their name. The lesson is not that you should drive a beat-up car or work as a janitor. The lesson is that wealth is the result of behavior, not the result of income. Ronald Reed outsaved, outowned, and outweighted people earning 20 times his salary. He understood the one thing they did not, that the size of your paycheck is just the raw material. What you do with it is the wealth. And here is the habit I told you to stay for, the one most high earners overlook. It is not budgeting. It is not investing. It is patience. Every wealthy person Thomas Stanley studied shared one trait. They were willing to live below their means for a long enough period that compounding could finish the job. Warren Buffett accumulated 99% of his net worth after age 50. Compounding does not reward intelligence. It rewards time. The high earner who blows their 30s on lifestyle and starts investing at 40 is fighting math that cannot be won. The modest earner who starts at 23 and never stops becomes Ronald Reed. CTA 1213 Min. If this video reframed even one thing about how you think about money, do me one favor, subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss a wealth breakdown like this one. We post deep dives every week on the quiet habits that separate the people who actually build wealth from the people who only earn it. This channel exists to help you cross that gap. And the next breakdown is one you do not want to scroll past. Outro 1315 Min. Here is what to remember. Income is a stream. Wealth is a reservoir. A high salary just means more water flowing through the pipe. And if the pipe has no reservoir at the end, it does not matter how fast it flows. You will still be empty when the flow stops. The high earner who lives at 95% of their income is a job loss away from broke. Modest earner who lives at 60% of their income invests the rest into ownership and waits. That person is building something that cannot be fired, laid off, or downsized away. The trap is real. The escape is mechanical. Calculate your real savings rate this week. Automate the transfer, buy the assets. Then trust the math and let time do the work. You do not need a higher income to start. You need a higher gap between what you earn and what you spend deployed into things that grow. That gap is wealth. Everything else is theater. If this hit, my breakdown on the 7 quiet habits millionaires use to widen that gap will make even more sense now. Watch that one next, because it is where the strategy turns into a system. 36% of Americans earning over $200,000 a year are still living paycheck to paycheck. In this video, we break down the income versus wealth trap, why high salaries quietly destroy more financial futures than market crashes, recessions, or bad investments combined. You will learn the hidden mechanism behind lifestyle inflation, the Parkinson's law of expenses, the asset gap that separates the top 10% from everyone else, and the patient habit Ronald Reed used to turn a janitor's salary into an $8 million estate. Real data. Named examples. Documented case studies from Mike Tyson, Nicolas Cage, Johnny Depp, Warren Buffett, and the Millionaire Next Door research of Thomas Stanley. If you want to escape the income illusion and start building durable wealth, this is the framework. Subscribe and hit the bell for weekly breakdowns on personal finance, investing, wealth building, financial freedom, and passive income. Timestamps: 00, 00 the trap nobody sees, 00, 45 the income illusion, 03, 00 the Parkinson's trap, 06, 00 the asset gap, 09, 00 the janitor who beat Wall Street, 12, 00 the one habit that compounds, 13, 00 final thought.